I'm 82 years old, and I have $5 million sitting in the bank. You want to know how many times my children called me last year? Zero. Not once. I traded my family for a paycheck, and it was the worst deal I ever made. But here's the part that really gets me. I didn't even realize I was making that trade. Not while it was happening. I thought I was being a good father. I thought I was providing. I thought the sacrifices would pay off someday. They did pay off, just not the way I expected. So before I go any further, let me tell you exactly how I ended up here, alone, rich, and completely invisible to the people I love most. Because if you're doing what I did, you need to hear this now, not at 82, now. When I was 28, I got my first real job, sales manager at a manufacturing company, and I was good at it, really good. Within 3 years, I was pulling in more money than anyone in my family had ever seen. My wife was proud. My parents were proud. My neighbors noticed the new car in the driveway. And that feeling of being somebody, it was like a drug. Every promotion felt like proof that I mattered. Every bonus felt like validation. Society told me I was winning, and I believed it. I believed every word. But here's what nobody warned me about. Success is quiet. It doesn't knock on your door and say, hey, you're about to lose everything that actually matters. It just slowly, quietly replaces the things you love with things you own. By the time I was 35, I was working 60, sometimes 70 hours a week. My son was 4, my daughter was 2, and I convinced myself that the extra hours were for them, that the bigger house was for them, that the private school fund was for them. But it wasn't for them. You know who it was for? Me. It was for my ego. It was so I could walk into a room and feel important, so I could look at my bank account and feel safe. I was dressing up selfishness as sacrifice, and I didn't even see it. My son had a school play when he was in first grade. His teacher called to remind me. I said I'd be there. I promised. But that afternoon, a client meeting ran long. I told myself, he's 6. He won't remember. But you know what I remember now? My wife told me later that he kept scanning the crowd in that gymnasium, looking for my face. He never found it. That look in his eyes, I didn't see it then, but I see it every single night now. Every single night for the last 30 years. And that wasn't the worst part. The worst part is that it happened again and again. Baseball games, birthday dinners, parent-teacher conferences. I missed all of them. Every time I had the same excuse. Next time. I'll make it up next time. But you can't make up a childhood. You can't deposit missed moments into a savings account and withdraw them later. Time doesn't work like money. Money comes back. Time never does. By the time I was 45, I was a vice president, corner office, personal assistant, reserved parking spot with my name on it. You want to know what my kids had? A father they recognized, but didn't really know. My daughter once told her mother, I was like a pleasant stranger. A pleasant stranger. That's what I was. A man who lived in the same house but existed in a completely different world. and I still didn't wake up. I still thought the money justified everything. I told myself when they're older they'll understand. When they see what I built, they'll thank me. They never thanked me. Let me tell you about the exact moment everything shattered. It was Thanksgiving. I was 58. I had just closed the biggest deal of my career, multi-million-dollar contract. I walked through the front door that evening expecting, I don't know, celebration, respect. What I got was an empty dining room, cold turkey on the counter still wrapped in foil, a note from my wife. We ate without you. Kids went to bed. I stood in that kitchen for 20 minutes, just standing there. The house was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking on the wall, and I realized something terrifying. They had stopped waiting for me. Not that night. They had stopped waiting for me years ago. I just hadn't noticed because I was never home long enough to see it. My friend told me something once that I'll never forget. He said, "Stick your hand in a bucket of water. Now pull it out. See how fast the water fills the hole." That's what happens at work when you leave. They replace you in a week, but at home, your empty chair stays empty for years. I didn't listen. I wish I had. At 62, I finally retired. 5 million in the bank, beautiful house, 2 cars, and a wife who looked at me like she was looking at a roommate she barely tolerated. We divorced 3 years later. 29 years of marriage, gone. Not because of anger, not because of betrayal, because of absence. You can't love someone who was never really there. My son moved to another state. We talked maybe twice a year, short conversations. Polite, like two strangers making small talk at a bus stop. My daughter sends a card on my birthday. Sometimes she forgets. I don't blame her. An old colleague of mine worked at a Fortune 500 company for 37 years, 70, 80 hours a week. When he finally retired, they replaced him with a manager and 2 supervisors and didn't bat an eye. 37 years, gone in one meeting. That's what you are to a company, a position that can be refilled. But to your children, you are the only father they will ever have. And that position, once it's vacant, nobody else can fill it. Now I sit in a quiet house, too quiet. I used to dream about silence when the kids were small. I used to wish they would just grow up and leave me alone so I could focus. Well, they did exactly that. They grew up, they left me alone, and now I sit here in my 70s, wishing one of them would just slam a door. Just once, just so I know somebody remembers I'm still here. You think you have time? That's exactly what I thought at your age. I thought I had decades to make it right. I thought the relationship could wait. I thought money would buy me a second chance. It doesn't. So here's what I need you to hear. The promotion will come again. The bonus will come again. The client meeting will come again. But your daughter's first steps, your son scanning that crowd for your face, your wife's eyes still lighting up when you walk through the door, those don't come again. Not ever. I'm 82. If I'm lucky, maybe 5 more years, maybe less. And I would trade every single dollar in that bank account, every award on that shelf, every deal I ever closed, for one more dinner where my whole family is sitting around the table, laughing, talking, together. Stop chasing the money. It's a trap dressed up as a trophy. Go home. Call your kids. Be there for the play, the game, the bedtime story. Be there so you don't end up like me, rich, respected by strangers, and completely alone. Don't waste your life learning this the hard way. Learn it from mine.